Namaste fam, my name is Rio, I'm an Art League instructor and I'll be talking you through this watercolor painting process. As you can see, the background is painted in. I've removed the masking fluid that I used to mask off the figure while painting in the background. And in here I'm just laying in the high values of the hair and the skin. I'm able to lay down all the midtones on the entire image at once because I'm using a clayboard. Usually with watercolor at this phase of the painting, when you're laying down value shapes of this size, you have to refine them right away as soon as you lay them down before the pigment stains the paper. But with clay, it absorbs similarly to paper, but I'm painting on loose particles instead of woven fabric, so I'm able to go back in and refine these value shapes even after it's completely dry. It removes that sense of urgency, which admittedly is what makes watercolor exciting to work with, but I gain the freedom to think about the entire image at once instead of having to focus on each value shape as I lay it down. Before I start on the details, I always try to make sure that the figure is solid. Honor the geometry before the accessory. Meaning, before you put eyebrows or eyelashes or other accessories on a head, make sure it already looks like a head, that it has form and dimensionality and geometry for those accessories to sit on. You can see the hair is divided into three large chunks that have form and substance, so that when I render the hair later, those details will sit on a solid foundation. Starting with the eyes here, when I put in the details, I always start at the focal point and work outwards. I want my focal point to be tight and have the image get looser and more abstract gradually towards the edges of the composition, to varying degrees with each piece, of course, to draw the eye towards the focal point. And it's easy for me to get lost in the process of refining details, and sometimes I even have to go back in and rough up parts of a painting that I've over-rendered, areas that I wanted to keep loose. And you'll see me break up the hard edge of her silhouette a bit away from the focal point. Watercolor as a medium has a sort of a rich tradition of negative space being part of the composition. I think more than any other medium, it has a sort of whimsical, ethereal quality, which is partially attributed to so many pieces where the artist has included or even featured the paper as part of the composition. And even though I'm not using paper, I really wanted to honor that sort of tradition of, quote, showing the paper by having this large negative space as a design element. I spent probably an hour or maybe more on refining the hair. I want this rhythmic progression of large shapes with compressed sort of busyness in the hair to smooth, rounder forms of her skin, then to that flat, negative space of her dress. So it's this progression of geometric juxtapositions. Value contrast and color contrast tend to dominate the conversation when we talk about contrast, but rhythmic contrast and geometric contrast can be just as important as compositional elements, so don't sleep on rhythm and geometry. Pretty happy with the way this piece turned out. As much as I'd like to take all of the credit for that, a lot of it goes to my old friend Danny here, who was the reference model. We were in a surf punk band together a million years ago, and she was always really good at that sort of casual grace, that effortless beauty that like in the pose and the expression and the hair and the haphazard bun. I just found it so captivating. And just in case anyone is interested, I'll leave a link in the description where you can order a print of this piece. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you soon.